Guys, I think I'm officially a contrarian. If there is a 2.8 star franchise movie out there, I'm gonna give it 4 stars, apparently. And I Know What You Did Last Summer is no exception, but can I admit something? Is this a safe space to admit that I like franchise movies? Oh, the horror. Like, apparently. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's no surprise that the Antichrist herself is a contrarian. That's right, Satan's favorite daughter here, at your service. Great to meet you. And I'm a spooky girl. I'm here to talk about spooky things. So if that sounds good to you and you are interested in joining my cult, then I would recommend clicking subscribe. Also click the like button and the notification bell, that way you never miss the next video. Don't bother reading the contract. There's nothing that weird in it anyways. Today's spooky order of business is, of course, reviewing the new I Know What You Did Last Summer. In my reviews, I like to get into all of my expectations of a movie, and with a franchise movie, I talk about my history with the franchise, my feelings on the franchise, what kind of marketing I've consumed, stuff like that. Then I get into all my spoiler-free thoughts, and finally we conclude with a bit of a plot breakdown. I Know What You Did Last Summer is a really interesting franchise because so much of it just rides the coattails of Scream. Even the original movie had the same screenwriter as the original Scream. It's always kind of existed in a little bit of this weird space where it's constantly overshadowed, and yet very much is its own unique thing. There are a lot of the slasher trends and tropes that this franchise does not abide by. I discovered Scream at a really young age, but I did not discover I Know What You Did Last Summer until much later. But because I was such a Scream fanatic, I loved I Know What You Did Last Summer. Actually, the first time that I watched it, I think that I probably logged it on Letterboxd. I don't know if I was smitten with it, but then I think on my rewatch I became obsessed, and then the next rewatch after that, my score went down again. I don't know, it's been tumultuous. Damn it, the first time I watched it, I didn't log it, but the first time I logged it was June of 2021, and I give it 4.5 stars. That tracks with my childhood obsession of the entire cast of the live-action Scooby-Doo movies. This is so weird. I rewatched it in June of 2021 and then again in October of 2021. That doesn't seem right. That can't be, because you know why? You know why? I did a watch-along on my channel of the original movie on the 4th of July, I want to say in 2022? Was that 2023? The years start coming and they don't stop coming. I've been saying that Smash Mouth was so right about that, but it's infamous. Few here have lived to tell the tale of how drunk I got on live stream that 4th of July, that fateful 4th of July, where we watched I Know What You Did Last Summer and The Bay. And that's all that I have elected to say about that stream since it happened. If you were there, oh, I do apologize. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. But I might have gotten so drunk that I forgot to log it at that point. Oh well, I also know the movie well enough that I didn't rewatch it to prep for the new one. I kind of wish I had. I just didn't think about it. I did rewatch I Still Know What You Did Last Summer because I wanted to catch up on the character lore of Julie and Ray, just because I knew that those actors were coming back, so I was like, I've only seen that once, I need to catch up. And the first time that I watched that movie, I give it 2.5 stars. I didn't enjoy it. This was September of 2022. Oh, I said you could have tattooed the plot twist on Jennifer Love Hewitt's forehead for how obvious it was. Harsh. Kind of true though. But then I rewatched it right before I went to the theater and I really enjoyed myself. I gave it 3.5 stars. I gave it a heart. Maybe I just was feeling good because I'm like getting hyped up to go see the new one. Or maybe it's because the last time I had watched it, I had recently rewatched the original. And so in comparison, it just seemed worse. I don't know. But they up the body count. There's good kills. I really like the characters. Brandy is fantastic. I also remember when the reboot was announced that it was the same director as Do Revenge. Jennifer Peyton Robinson, yes. That had me stoked. Also, it was announced that Camila Mendes was going to be the lead of I Know What You Did Last Summer, but then she had to drop out, and I was like, no, sad. But she was replaced by Chase Sweet Wonders, who... good choice. Robinson had a look in mind for her lead, that's for sure. But I had actually forgotten that she was the director by the time I walked into the movie. I had only seen maybe blips of trailers as I was walking into other movies, and based on the trailers, it looked kind of dumb, but I had built myself up a little bit by revisiting one of the installments, so overall, I was kind of net neutral going in. But it turns out that I loved it, okay? Not right away, though. Not right away. I maintained maintained my neutral feelings probably through almost the entirety of the first act. It's a little rocky. I'm not really taken by anyone in the cast yet. Nobody in this movie is somebody that you look at and you go, oh, immediately I like you. Because one thing that I'm not super fond of is when characters talk to themselves a lot, and multiple of them in this movie do it. And that's how the movie kicks off when we meet our lead character. She's like talking to herself nervously and like hyping herself up a little bit. And I talk to myself. Yes, I do. For example, somebody immature invites me to a fight that, of course, I'm not gonna show up at, but I'll release those thoughts in the quiet of my room. Oh, you thought him putting a ring on your finger, that it automatically makes you a good person. That's so no, you couldn't possibly be in the wrong because you put a ring on your finger. That is called a false equivalency fallacy, and that is lore that you will never know about. It was just that the people talking to themselves in this movie were a little bit too kitschy about it. Also was used to dump exposition, so just not my fave. But as the movie goes on, there are genuine moments that help you connect to the characters. I think that a couple of them had really good chemistry. For example, the girls who are best friends. I think that the relationship between Tyreek Withers and Madeline Klein was really good. I liked everyone's performances. We all remember Chase Sweet Wonders from Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Fantastic. It was nice to see her have a little bit more emotional range in this movie. Jonah Howard King, our Little Mermaid prince, dipping his little toesies into horror. Love that. He was kind of just a guy in this movie. I felt like this movie really was for and about the girlies and the gays. There were some beautiful looking men here. More on that later. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know why I just said that. I really liked Tyreek Withers, who I had never seen before, but we're actually going to be seeing him in the new upcoming Him. I think that's coming out in September, right? It's the new Jordan Peele produced movie. I'm not familiar with the director, but also starring Marlon Wayans. I'm getting stoked for that. And now after seeing his performance in this, I'm really excited to see him literally flex different muscles in Him. Seeing this, I was like, oh yes, perfect beefcake for that other film. Great. Can't wait. Now, Madeline Klein, she was serving face, but they gave her the worst dialogue like in the entire movie. Also, if you know me, you know that typically I complain about like filler and Botox and stuff because I'm like, they're not making full emotional faces. How am I supposed to connect with them? That's based on a science, by the way. If you have a baby and you have Botox, there's like emotional recognition that doesn't happen in their development. It's a whole thing. But she was like the perfect casting for this ultra wealthy white girl vibe. So the face fit the part. Also, I don't know if she's maybe only done filler and not really gotten a lot of Botox, but her emotions come across great. I thought she was so good in this movie. But back to the whole worst dialogue thing, I really get what they're going for here because they're giving us this group of really, morally questionable rich kids, and they're kind of trying to make fun of the rich idiots that are really into pseudoscience bullshit. But she was not a dumb character. Her character, Danica, she really had an emotional depth to her that, in my opinion, showed intelligence. So when she would have this dumb dialogue about like, oh, this advisor is my claircognizant fruch, I was like, oh, brother. It just felt a little bit out of touch, like making Gen Z seem a lot dumber than we are, because majority of us are in our mid-20s now. I do give grace to the fact that, yes, there probably are more dumb people in the world than smart at this point. ChatGPT is just really lowering our national average IQ. I get that. But nobody I know in real life really talks like that, so I just wasn't loving some of the writing. Even there was a group of teenage girls in my audience that was not laughing at that, and I assumed that those kind of jokes were more for their benefit. Maybe it's just me. Broad comedy so rarely works for me, but much appreciated that these actors were playing their actual age. I don't know why it's so tough to find stories that like genuinely follow mid-20 somethings. Madeline Klein is 27 playing 26. Like, thank you. In traditional slashers, 27-year-olds are playing 16-year-olds, and we're just supposed to be like, yeah, totally. And by back in the day, I mean, like, do you remember when they cast 30-year-olds in 13 Reasons Why? I'm trying to think. Not a lot is coming to the top of mind. The only other one I can think of right now is as like the original My Bloody Valentine. I guess the remake too, they're young adults. They certainly still act like high schoolers though in this movie, but I think that's just part of like the Arrested Development of being richer than God. Anyway, I think that the cast really made the best of the material, and honestly, I did end up falling for a lot of these characters. It upped the stakes when they were in danger, you know, by the third act. I'm like, wait, bringing stakes back to slasher movies? That's kind of crazy. Tonally, it felt very similar to the original with Helen Shivers. Like real stakes, like, wait, no, these people actually now seem kind of cool and real to me, like don't kill them. But that's why we're there. And speaking of Helen Shivers, she is really mythologized in this movie the way that the fan base has mythologized her, which I thought was really cool. To the point that I actually found the meta elements like that of this movie better than Scream 6, for example. There's a true crime podcasting character, and I'm like, how in the hell did I Know What You Did Last Summer do this before Scream? Besides the MTV show of Scream, I know that there was that character Piper, I think in the first season. Or was it the main character? Did Noah have a true crime podcast? Was everybody podcasting in that show? I don't remember. But in the movies, it's like that. Okay, in Scream 6, they didn't know what the hell to talk about. They just had Mindy standing up there going, guys, now, dun dun dun, we're in a franchise. Are you kidding me? The new rules, boring as hell. This movie had a true crime freak who very subtly spoke for the audience, for the majority. Sometimes it was like, okay, she literally has a Helen Shivers shirt on. Okay. Also, you can tell, like, you could tell the incoming merch advertisements from a mile away. For instance, that shirt, for one thing. And then second of all, there is like a Ray's fishery or Ray's something hat that one of the characters wears. They made sure that clothing had its screen time, and honestly, I do want it. Another plus, the cast of characters was really big and it kept you guessing for a good amount of the runtime, while the main drama and story was contained to the leads. I felt like there was a really good balance there. You get really memorable little blips of other characters, and it's always kind of enough to build suspicion. However, I did call the reveal at the end of Act 1. Boo, boo. As soon as we meet back up with Jennifer Love Hewitt's character and she is giving a lecture about trauma, clocked it. I was very upset about that because I wanted to be wrong. I was like, surely I did not just guess this early on in the movie. Now, there was an element of the reveal that I was completely blindsided by, so props for that. I didn't completely ruin it for myself, luckily. So that is why I give the predictability a little bit of a pass, and also because it's a really bold swing. It's gonna make some people mad, and if that's the case for you, I just think that that's a boring take. We have enough requels that all do the same shit. Scream 5 clocked that so badly. Can't stop saying clocked. After that video of Justin Bieber, I'm cooked. I'm done for. But this was really fresh and I was all over it. You know what else is weirdly fresh? The usage of the F word. Characters casually saying fucking this and fucking that. I'm like, yeah, that's actually like how people talk. So that is really weirdly juxtaposed with the mumbly, dumb, rich person dialogue of Madeline's character. But nonetheless, other people felt real. They also definitely upped the gore from the rest of the franchise. There is a higher body count. Always appreciated by moi. Didn't know what to expect from Robinson because all I'd seen from her before was Do Revenge. I don't know that she's directed horror before, but she killed it for me personally. I saw some people having the opposite take where they really liked the first act, but then they felt like it kind of devolved with the bad writing. For me, I was like, oh no, it was very corny in its setup, but then it found its groove as we got to know the characters better, we could empathize with them more, and as the violence was upped. I enjoyed the movie more and more as it went on. Because in the beginning, I'm thinking, 3-star. That was I was feeling a 3-star vibe. And then by the end, I was like, oh my God, like 4.5 stars maybe? But then I was like, no, I'm gonna knock it down to 4. I just kind of forgot how I felt in the first act, but we gotta be realistic. So go out and see it, especially if you're a horror fan, just ignore the naysayers. Honestly, all my friends on Letterboxd are down with it, okay? All my friends loved it. I feel like the fans will get it. I think they'll feel serviced, and the non-horror audience can kick rocks, I guess. Also, are we just in a really bitter era for movie criticism because we're in a recession or something? Like, is everybody okay? I'm just checking in because sometimes, especially with Jurassic, I see a lot of very angry takes, and it's like, let's reel that in. let's assess. People will project their anger, insecurity, fear, like onto the weirdest stuff, like Megan 2.0. So that's not the vibe here. We come here for distractions and fun conversations about horror movies. So if you're gonna be one of those guys, then I have no problem taking the trash out. Okay, you'll be out of here. Go in with an open mind, unclench. That's great advice. Have fun. I will be waiting right here for you when you get back, because it's time to talk about spoilers now. All right, kicking it off with the opening of the movie. I was very curious how they were gonna do the accident, because I was like, they did something very, very similar for the TV show. I didn't talk about the TV show. I should have talked about that in the spoiler-free section. Oh well, nobody watched that anyways, so it's fine, right? I didn't mind it. Like, it wasn't good, but it was entertaining. I watched the whole season. I was curious though, because I'm like, this is a franchise where repeating that over and over is not really an interesting thing, but they did change it up. Like, it wasn't quite what I expected. They did take a little bit of the bite out of it though, but I like how they changed it up because it made the characters a little bit more morally gray. Whereas in the original movie, it's like, oh my god, these kids are assholes. Like, they literally hit somebody with their car. In this situation, nobody should be whipping around a curve like that. Ever. He was driving way too fast. He absolutely should have had time to just brake, because you never know what another car is going to be doing coming around that curve. It's like sometimes we have to drive through the canyons, like back from Malibu after dinner or something, and rich people in their fucking car clubs are just whipping around. They'll come over the line and it's like, you're trying to kill me? They also tried to help him. It was like a genuine accident. I mean, obviously, Teddy was acting a fool. Teddy was acting foolish, but nobody was like egging him on. And anyway, the whole thing just felt a little more realistic, I guess, even though the original movie is so much darker with them actually like doing a hit and run and then dumping the body. Like, it's a lot darker. So they definitely took some of the bite out, but for me, it helped me to empathize with the characters a little bit more, because in the original, I cannot wait for Ryan Phillippe to fucking die. This was playing into a little bit more of how rich people never really face accountability. In the original, it was more so that they're just like kind of bad people, right? Do you know how often rich kids are like, this could ruin my life, daddy, bail me out? I went to a private university. I seen it, okay? Anyway, then we flash forward, of course, as we do in these movies, and I was like, oh my god, gay final girl? That was short-lived, but thanks for giving us that, Jennifer. I love the reveal at the bridal party that there is a brand new fiance, and this is how you build a good side character, by the way, by giving them memorable little moments. She's like, I know he's a little bit of an alcoholic, and he's like cheersing with all the girlies. Something as brief as that 2-second cut of him just cheering with them, A, hilarious, B, tells you a lot about their character. There's also a quick moment where he's reassuring her, and it kind of gave me pause, like, oh, is this actually a healthy man, or is this a narcissist who's been to therapy and knows how to weaponize that language? So I was taken aback by him pretty much immediately dying. Good death, don't get me wrong, especially with her soaking in pig's blood or something upstairs. In my opinion, that's the best way to up the body count, because you give them a memorable, like, character acting moment and then give us a gory showdown. Tyler is another example of like a really, really strong character, get a feeling for her vibe immediately. That's just the best way to do it, because like, again, didn't spend a lot of time with her. I wanted more on that later, but then makes their death just really stick with you. But when I tell you, okay, because immediately after this, we meet back up with Julie. Ugh. As soon as we see her and the first words out of her mouth are like, trauma can rewire your brain, and if you don't deal with it and you repress it or whatever, it'll come out in these mysterious ways. Or wait, which came first? I think it was that, but then also when Tyler was dying and she like unmasked the villain and she was like, you? I was like, come on, guys. Whichever one came first. But then with that sequence with Tyler, it was like, okay, so Ray is the killer. It doesn't take any deduction skills literally at all to realize that. Once again, they could have stamped the twist on Jennifer Love Hewitt's forehead. Immediately, I'm like, well, who the hell else does Tyler know? She hasn't met the friend group besides Milo, and we don't know him. Like, he doesn't really have any trauma. I think with whodunit especially, we need to ban the trope of of college professor giving lecture that thematically it ties into exactly what's going on with the twist reveal. No more. Okay, no more. Because along with that, I wish that they kept the fiance and Tyler alive a little bit longer just to like keep the mystery a little more alive. Although the way that they did things, the stakes were raised more gradually. So with this, I feel like I can't really have my cake and eat it too. But maybe one of the lead boys should have died in Act 2. And then maybe Tyler dies in Act 3, or Danica's fiance dies in Act 3. Yeah, maybe her fiance, because Tyler really is just there for the exposition, right? Now, the Helen Shivers Xanax fever dream. I do fear we have to talk about this. It was iconic, and then it got weird so quick. I'm glad she got in there, but I think the cameo should have been a little bit quicker because her whole speech reflecting Danica's inner turmoil and stuff, it just was like a little far-fetched. I also wish that they didn't use CG to de-age her, and I totally get why they did because she died young. She would have been immortalized in that way, but it's a dream. And also, you're gonna have her melting into the Pirates of the Caribbean looking ass CG skeleton, but we have to de-age her. Like, do you see what I mean? Weird. So with that cameo, I don't know, we win some and we lose some. I just know that I would love whatever fucked up thought process came about when they were trying to figure out how to give her a cameo. They're like, okay, we could have one of the characters have an encounter with the killer. Yes, good. Maybe she hits her head so hard that she has a fever dream about Helen Shivers, who then melts into a freaky ass CG skeleton. That's the one that made it past everybody. All the executives, you know, in the editing bay, they said, yeah, looks good. No, I have to move on. I was sad when Milo died. I was sad when Tyreek died because it felt like, wow, this group of immature rich assholes, you know, is finally going through something that is forcing them to grow up. And also they're finally kind of reconnecting with one another in a sweet way. Maybe they'll finally be able to make these relationships work. And now, psych. Absolutely not. Death. Also, I don't know if I've ever seen it in a slasher where a character specifically goes to the gym so that they can beat up the killer when they have an encounter. Tyreek really had the right idea there. Also, that scene of him in the steam room, gay. Not Robinson having the DP like pan up his chiseled abs. I was like, okay, you know, Jennifer Love Hewitt, I still know what you did last summer, homage. Do you guys remember that hyper-focused pan down her body when she's getting into the tanning bed? I don't mind them turning the tables, hey. And it was like, holy shit, Teddy is cut. His death was sad. It made me sad. And it's like, why? He's still not that good of a person. Also, his dad, like, dying with him felt very poetic. They were the two most in cahoots with this situation, so just very poetic. I loved the hook through the throat. And then the Jaws reference of them hung up like sharks. Brutal. Ugh, I think that's like the gnarliest thing this franchise has ever done. Also, I did not see Stevie as the killer. Didn't see that coming. That was the part that surprised me, and I'm really glad for that. I think I probably didn't see it coming because we pretty much never got to see her perspective. She just was kind of like a random tag-along person that I thought was gonna be to like up the body count. We did get that one scene of her and Ray where he's hugging her and he's like, I swore to your dad that I'd protect you, wouldn't let anything happen to you. And I was like, okay, I get it. Like, you're the killer, Ray. So then it's like, the motive, because I knew he was the killer, was like, oh, well, there goes the motive, spoiled for me as well. But then Stevie took me off guard. Loved that. Good performance. I wish that they let her monologue a little bit more because she also was funny in that very like delightfully twisted and fucked up way, not in like a broad comedy sense. I don't know why she survived though, and why that information was dropped so casually right before the credits roll. I'm sure some of you missed that. Let me know. But like, why is she alive? Well, okay, I know why. But like, why? I am convinced that Danica washing up alive on the shore and that last little scene of them together at the beach and coming out of the hospital was tacked on after a test screening and everyone's saying, how dare you kill off Danica? I know she's gonna be a fan favorite. Or I assume. The motive for Ray was so good though. Not just like him protecting Stevie, because that was kind of but him using the playbook of what had happened to them to then carry out to be the villain. That is amazing. I have been saying this is what Scream needs to do. If you go back like 4 years on my channel and you go to my Scream 5 predictions, I've been saying like, make Dewey the killer. Okay, forever. Did you? Jennifer, if she's watching this, which I know you are. Did you see my videos? Did you take my idea? Did you? Be honest. No other franchise has had the balls to do that. Like, all of these requels just doing the same shit over and over and over. And finally, we have a legacy character who has become the killer. And what a reason to come back to the franchise, huh? After all these years. Freddie Prinze Jr., I didn't want to say it, but he was phoning it in just a little bit in this performance. I have to imagine that this twist was part of the incentive to come back besides the check. And you notice, like, I don't really have that much to say about Julie. I felt like she didn't really get a lot to do, which was fine because I liked the new characters. I think that Chase Sweet Wonders was carrying. I think that Jennifer Love Hewitt had her best moment in the mid-credit scene with Brandy. I'm so here for bringing Brandy back, by the way. Are you kidding me? Seeing them reconnect and the chemistry that they had versus kind of the lack thereof of Julie with the new characters, that Marvel-ass mid-credit bringing back a big character-ass moment. And you know who was gobbling it up? Me. Final thoughts. I am annoyed at being denied the catharsis of Milo and Ava finally hooking up. I think that was to subvert our expectation of like, oh, they didn't hook up and oh, there was a fake out of him in the car, so he's safe because he didn't have sex. According to slasher rules, they're safe. But as soon as he's outside and there's the music and they're building tension, I'm like, okay, so this is when things are gonna really start ramping up. He is not making it out of this one. It is by no means a perfect movie, but I really thoroughly enjoyed myself. I can't wait to own it. I will watch it again. I do hope the franchise keeps going and we get Brandy and Jennifer just back at it again. I don't really think that'll happen, just based on my current outlook and the current kind of reception of it. But a girl can dream, you know? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Throw a spoiler warning on there if you've made it this far and you want to discuss spoilers. If you're new here, click subscribe if you haven't yet, you weirdo. I talk about horror movies every single week. I post 1 to 2 videos here every single week. I also have a second channel where I talk about physical media and I take you on spooky outings, so if that interests you, then check that out too. You also get bonus reviews and podcast episodes with my dad over on the Patreon. I also give you all the behind the scenes gossip about working in the film industry over there with my little career updates, so check that out. Depending on which tier you join, you get a bonus video every single week. But more than anything, I just hope that you enjoyed this video and that I catch you in the next one. Bye.